everyone, it's Annie again, and I just wanted to do an update about how my appointment on Friday with the maternal fetal specialist went. I just made a video for my other channel about this, and but kind of wanted to make, I don't know, one that was focused a little differently for this channel. So I had the appointment on Friday, and I really liked the doctor. Actually, he was very nice and down to earth, and joked around with us. And my husband is a computer software engineer, and so they talked about that. Like, the guy likes Linux, and it was just kind of a cool start to the appointment. And then we went over my health history, and he was very very honest, about the fact that he doesn't know a ton about my health stuff, and that I probably know more about some of this stuff than he does. So, that was really refreshing to have him say that and not have him be kind of an arrogant type that I've dealt with a lot. And so then we went over my health history, we went over my medications, which was actually really good to be able to go over all of that with him, and especially the medications, to go over all of that with him, and really get some better information about what's safe and what's not safe. And for the most part, everything that I'm on is fine, or, kind of in that gray area, but most likely okay. And there's one medication that I really need to try to get off of, which I'm now going to start weaning down on, and but everything else is fine. So that's good. And then so we basically just talked about my situation and what that would mean. So he said there were three things that you need to look at with people who are gonna, looking at becoming pregnant. You need to look at how their conditions will affect the pregnancy, how the pregnancy will affect their conditions, and then I think the third one might have been medications. I think it was medications, but I don't really remember. But the first two anyway, I know that was, those were two of them. And so basically we talked about it, and none of my health stuff really sent up any red flags for him. None of it seemed to really be an issue, and wouldn't automatically put me into a high risk category, which was really good. I was really glad to hear all of that. Having a port didn't put me into high risk. So that was all really good. The only thing that in the end might be an issue is that I do have a history of blood clots. Last October, I was in the hospital for 4 days with I think it was multiple blood clots. I haven't seen the records, but I think it was multiple blood clots. They weren't getting clear information as to whether it was one big clot that was affecting multiple veins, or if it was three smaller clots. But I did have clots on the left side. I think it included my jugular and my subclavian, so it was major places that I had these clots. And it was determined that it was likely that the clots were likely caused by combination birth control that I was on, and I was on it at the time just to try to stop my periods, because one of my conditions, dysautonomia, gets worse the week before my period. So by stopping them, it actually helped a lot with my symptoms. But then I ended up with this blood clot 3.5 months into taking it, or something like that. So it was most likely a combination of the birth control and having the port, which I had a port on this side before when that happened. And apparently having ports on this side make you more susceptible to clots because of the way that they have to thread the catheter and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, so I was on Lovenox shots for that for 3.5 months, and had a repeat ultrasound done around then when I had my new port put in, and it was fine. There was nothing of concern left. So the history of blood clots sent up a red flag for him, and we only got to talking about that towards the end of the appointment, because he didn't ask me if I had been hospitalized for anything, recently, or in the last couple of years, or anything like that. And didn't specifically ask about it, so it didn't come up until he talked about the fact that having a central line like a port does put you at higher risk for having a clot. And so I volunteered. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I was in the hospital in October for clots. So so basically, like pregnancy puts you in the same kind of hypercoagulable state that birth control does because you have the same hormones, basically. And so he wants me to get my records from my hospital stay faxed over to him, which I'll send the paper in today to request that. And then, he'll get more information about the tests that I had done there, about my clotting factors and all of that stuff, and see more about the clots in general. And then we'll talk again, and he'll make a recommendation at that point. But he said that there is a possibility, probably a relatively strong possibility, that I would need to be on basically preventative blood thinners, a relatively low dose, but still, that I would need to be on blood thinners for the duration of the pregnancy, that I would be on Lovenox for most of the pregnancy. Like, I don't know, from what I've read online, it looks like at about 35 weeks you get switched over to heparin, which is shorter acting, so that once you go into labor, you stop the blood thinners and it's much safer. You're not at risk for bleeding out. So that would put me in a higher risk category. And so that would likely make it so that his recommendation would be that I be in a hospital, which is not what I wanted to hear, obviously. So I'm, dealing with that. And I left the appointment and got in the car with my husband, and like I just started crying. Like it was just not the outcome that I wanted, and we're still in that. We still don't know. Like we both just want to know what the plan is going to be, and if we need to, look into other options and stuff like that. But I'm glad that the doctor is not just making making a recommendation now without all the information. He's really taking his time. He recognizes that like this is something that's very important to me, and so he's taking his time. So we're waiting and seeing, and my hope that we've decided that we will be able to come up with some kind of. I'm sorry, my husband is IMing me right now, and I'm distracted by that. My hope is that we'd be able to come up with some kind of, middle ground where I would be able to work with the midwives at the birth center and work with him, and like if things came up during the pregnancy, then we'd switch the course of action. But I'm obviously not making any decisions now. Just trying to research my options and everything. So we'll see what happens, and I will continue updating as I know more, and as this cycle of trying to conceive continues. So that's the update on all of that. I hope that there are some people who are actually gonna watch the videos and find them helpful, and I'm certainly finding it helpful to reach out to the TTC community on here and gather some information and support from everyone there. I have yet to actually post a comment on anyone's video, but I'm sure I will eventually. So that's it. So I hope you're all having a good week so far, and I'll see you next video.